Good evening, folks. This is Robert Garding, the Infidel Talkmaster, with the latest update for the Tired of All the Liberal Rhetoric show and blog on this Memorial Day, May the 26th, 2008. This one I have titled The Meaning of Freedom, the True Meaning of Freedom. Memorial Day. This year was a weird one, since fuel prices have skyrocketed to the point that many Americans stayed home this year instead of driving out and going places like they used to. But this holiday is truly an American one, in that it was made to honor our fighting men and women of every war the United States has fought in since the beginning. Men and women who have fought and sacrificed everything for that ideal of freedom. That ideal that most Americans do hold dear, though the liberals and the media do not. Freedoms that many of us have either forgotten the cost of, or who have forgotten that freedom like ours is never free. From the Revolutionary War through the Civil War and battles like Gettysburg, from World War I and battles like the Battle of Verdun to World War II and battles like the invasion of Normandy to the fall of Berlin, the American soldier has fought for those freedoms that we Americans do hold dear. From the cold of Korea to the steamy hot jungles of Vietnam, our brave soldiers have fought for one ideal: freedom. From our liberally caused loss in Vietnam, where we didn't lose one battle, but we lost the war, to the war on terror, where the liberal faction of our government and their bedmates, the media, are again doing their best to cause another loss, like in Vietnam, only this time in Iraq. I think that now the main part of Americans are finally waking up to the dangers that another trip down this trail of a media-induced loss would cause to America. The media is actively seeking such a loss, just like the one that they caused us to suffer back in 1975 as we left Vietnam in defeat. And it isn't a good thing either, folks. To me, for the brave American soldiers who have given their all in Vietnam, just to have their own government undermine their jobs and call them baby killers must have been hard on them. Especially coming home to the crowds of anti-war idiots calling them baby killers and much more. Now we have another generation of very brave men and women fighting a war that was brought to our shores in 2001 before we took it back to them, and now they have members of their own government like John Murtha and John Kerry and Dick Durbin and Chuck Schumer trying to rally the American people behind them in another campaign of "we need to lose this war too" mentality. And that can't be good for a military that is winning on every front that they fight in, trying to do their best to undermine the efforts and sacrifices that our military is again exerting for the freedoms of many from the barbaric few who want to keep their freedoms from them. How hard do you think it would be to fight for your country and then have your own country and their mistresses, the media, side with the enemy every chance they get? Like when the enemy, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, comes to American soil, to the UN, and then proceeds to talk down the United States and our president. Then they also welcomed Hugo Chavez when he came to America and the UN and talked of how the President and the United States smelled like sulfur like the devil. And with both of them, the media made them out as heroes, just because they were exercising their freedom of speech to say what they did. But it was different when General Petraeus speaks out before Congress in a closed session that shouldn't have had anybody there. He gets heckled, and the Democrats won't stop it because they say that they would be infringing on the heckler's right of free speech. And when our president went to Israel last week to speak in honor of that country's 60th anniversary and gave a 40-minute speech, the liberals all went up in arms over a 38-second soundbite of his speech where he says, "Some people think that all they have to do is talk to the terrorists and make them realize that they were wrong all along." And he is belittled for it. Obama and several of them go completely on the offensive saying that he was talking about them, but he didn't name names. Of course, the liberal hatred for Bush would cause that belittling to happen no matter what President Bush said, even if he totally agreed with them. Do any of you realize just how dangerous this kind of thinking really is for us? Do any of you even stop to think of what kind of damage you are doing to our national security? Making us more susceptible to another attack like the one on September 11th, 2001. The talk from our enemy in this war daily says it is coming, but the liberals have fallen asleep to the dangers of that. The Republicans are falling asleep to the dangers of that. Only the conservatives, which I do not necessarily consider Republicans, are awake to the dangers, along with the Americans who keep themselves awake to the dangers, stay vigilant. Daily we hear comments from our enemies in this war that we need to go home and that they want to destroy us. My question to the likes of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and John Murtha and Chuck Schumer and others is this. What part of America and Israel needs to be destroyed don't you understand? This is frightening that members of our own government would rather support and side with an enemy sworn to kill us rather than support our own troops who are sworn to protect us. This is Robert Garding, the Infidel Talkmaster, the one that the Democrats wish would shut up, for this edition of the Tired of All the Liberal Rhetoric Update. Have a blessed and safe day, and have a happy Memorial Day. God bless you all.